Welcome to The Facts. I'm your host, Craig Dewey, and on the program this week we have State Representative Isaac Latterell, who represents District 6 in the South Dakota Legislature and will be discussing a preview of the upcoming 2014 legislative session and be going through a number of issues, including the discussion about a proposed convention of the states for a balanced budget amendment for the U.S. Constitution. Representative, welcome to the program.
Hi, Craig. How are you?
Doing well. As far as legislature coming up, you are serving in your first term in the legislature. Could you describe the geographic boundaries of the district you represent?
Sure. I represent the communities of T, Lennox, and Harrisburg, and then the southeast corner of Sioux Falls and the southwest corner of Sioux Falls up to 57th Street. So my entire district is Lincoln County.
And then what is your background outside of the legislature?
I'm an entrepreneur, technology consultant by trade, so I help businesses with their business software as well as their websites and their IT needs.
And then what prompted you to run for the legislature?
It was actually something that I hadn't thought of before, but after college I ended up interning at the state senate. I saw an opportunity to both meet with the state leaders and work with them every day, and they also were offering to pay me $4,000, and I thought, this sounds like a great internship. So I took it and really didn't know a lot about what the state legislature did, but after learning that and having a lot of people there encouraging me to come out here, I thought it was some place that I could make a difference because the people there are just regular folks like me, and it's a little different than D.C. where we sometimes see the career politicians and that kind of thing. So it was attractive for that reason, and then there's just a lot of issues that I'm passionate about, whether it be personal liberties or protecting the rights of the vulnerable, and I have the opportunity to work on those issues in the legislature, so I enjoy it for that reason.
And then every year before the legislative session begins in the Sioux Falls area, the Sioux Falls Area Chamber of Commerce holds an event called Good Morning Sioux Falls.
Yep.
And it acts as a legislative preview. Legislators attend and other community leaders. Could you discuss what occurred at that meeting?
Yeah, we had Mark from the chamber was the one doing the emceeing this time, and he was asking each legislator present a question about what issues are we seeing coming up? Here's a bill that you have talked about. What's your position? Can you explain yourself? So it was actually a great time to hear from different legislators what was on their minds, what they thought was coming up, and we have a good time each year. So it was the second time I've been there.
And a large number of legislators come from Sioux Falls and the surrounding area, correct?
Correct. It seems that since Sioux Falls is growing, we do have a sizable delegation of legislators that go out to Pierre. So I think there was about 16 legislators or so that were there.
I would assume that certainly business issues would be discussed going into the legislative session. Could you kind of provide a summary of some of the issues or questions that you were asked?
Well, the question I was asked was actually about Convention of the States project that people have been working on for a couple of years now in Sioux Falls, specifically focused on a balanced budget amendment, but there's also a call for states to call for a convention for proposing amendments to the Constitution that would limit the size and scope of the federal government. And so that was the question I was asked, what I was thinking about in terms of how does the state actually restrain the federal government? What can we do as people to slow down the mess we see in Washington? People are very concerned about what's happening in Washington, and they want to know, what can we do?
And we've heard from different people about ways to amend the Constitution. Terms like Convention of the States is used, as well as Constitutional Convention.
Right.
Are those the same things? Could you explain what the differences are?
Yeah, that's an important question, and they're actually not the same. Constitutional Convention is the official name for what they had when they originally wrote the Constitution. But if you read the Article 5 in the Constitution itself, it actually specifies that on the application of 2/3 of the states, they can actually call a convention for proposing amendments to the Constitution. And it's an important distinction because this convention actually derives its authority from within the Constitution. It's not separate or, apart from it.
And then, as you indicated, it would be the states making a call for a convention then.
Right, and it would be whenever you have 34 states that petition Congress to apply for a convention to propose amendments, the Congress really has no choice. It specifies they must set the date and time, and then the states send a delegation there, and the only thing that those those delegates can do is to discuss and propose amendments to the Constitution. They can't destroy the Constitution, they can't rewrite the Constitution. All they can do is just propose amendments that would then be sent back to the states for possible ratification.
And this idea of a balanced budget amendment to the U.S. Constitution certainly is not a new one. It's been discussed over the past years and decades. In South Dakota, there was an effort, again, last legislative session in 2013 to talk about this issue. That effort was unsuccessful, but it is going to be coming back this year, and some of the conditions have changed. There's some more support. Could you describe what has changed from last year?
Sure. Yeah, last year actually was very close. There were 8 votes shy of getting it passed in at least one of the houses. And, you know, the reason that people are starting to get more excited about this idea, whether it be a balanced budget amendment convention or a convention that would just limit the power and the size of the federal government, you know, people are getting excited about this because they're very concerned, as I am, about the runaway Congress that we have, the absolute mess. And we have to be realizing that the problem is Congress. We don't just need to send different people there. You know, it's just the problem is that the power has gotten too big. And so now people are getting excited because this is a solution that's actually as big as the problem. It's something that people can say, I know what I can do now to help restrain Washington, D.C. And so Mark Levin wrote a book called The Liberty Amendments, and it was immediately one of the top-selling books on Amazon in all genres. And you know, people have been reading it, so the support's really been growing. There's been people in the state legislature who have changed their mind dramatically on this and now are working with me to get this kind of thing passed. So I'm excited about it.
And why do you think some of the legislators have changed their mind going into this year?
Well, one thing is just what we saw with Obamacare, you know, out in D.C. It's just been a train wreck. The feelings of Washington, D.C. just being a complete mess have only grown, and people are scared because we're running out of time to do something if we want to restrain the federal government. And so this is an actual plan that is in the Constitution. It's sometimes likened to, in case of emergency, break glass, use Article 5. So, you know, the founders gave us this because they envisioned a time in which the federal government would become tyrannical. And we've seen they'll never vote to restrain their own power. So this is really the option that we have, and people are really joining in full force.
Who are some of the core group of legislators who are supporting this effort in addition to yourself?
I think that Manny Steele was the one who had initially ran the bill last year. This will be my second session, so I can only speak to last year, but it was Jim Stalzer has been one of the principal proponents of this idea, and Manny Steele also. And we have Hal Wick, who's also working on it. He's a very experienced, long-time legislator, so he's been helpful to the discussion and the effort.
Well, Representative, we appreciate your detailed explanation and overview of the process.
Absolutely.
And when we return back after the break, we'll discuss some of the arguments for and against the proposed Convention of the States to amend the Constitution to provide for a balanced budget amendment. And later in the show, we'll also discuss some upcoming issues during the 2014 legislative session. Stick around, we'll be back with more of the facts.